Dirt Demon kept shaking the living crap out of me as he kept screaming, "He's alive! He's alive!" Slipstream immediately said, "Who's alive?" He turned and said, "Skyfire! He's alive!" She puts her hand on his shoulder and says, "Of course he is. We all think he's alive." She looked at him and says, "I don't think," turned to me before saying, "I know." What? Apparently they had found Skyfire. He was crashed and he was hurt real bad. Apparently he got some distance away from that city before he went down, but he just couldn't stay aloft. Unfortunately, he's unable to change modes, primarily because he's out stasis lock. They approached him cautiously, and when they found out he was alive, they tried to give him some cubes to repair. It took a little bit of time, but they were able to do that. And to make sure that he could repair all the way, they stood their ground and they just camped there until all their resources ran out. Thankfully, no scavenger showed up to rip him apart, which meant that it was pretty boring. But once they could make sure that his life spark will not be in any danger, they returned promptly. It was not up to debate as if there was going to be one. Preparations were immediately started. We had to figure out what we were going to do. We couldn't just leave him out there. And eventually we decided we needed to bring him to us. We owe him that much. In fact, we owe him a little more. All other operations had to be put on hold because this was going to take every single flyer we had, and we couldn't exactly leave the whole base unguarded. Every flying bot, including myself, headed out, and unfortunately we had to nap the Cybertron and keep as low as possible. Also keep our speed down to the point where, honestly, I thought I'd stall a couple times. I started to feel my chest plate start to just get really close to the ground, but I need to make sure we don't get detected. And then on that note, we had to take a very long route to avoid any type of detection. We couldn't get anywhere near the city, or where anybody that we knew would come after us would be. We had to be like a whisper in the wind, just out there. No one can see you, and you're getting to your destination. Though that's not to say we didn't have our pace in place, primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. If we were discovered, or we thought we might be discovered, noticing anyone on the landscape, we would immediately land and dig in as fast as we can and wait. Make sure that when they look across the landscape, they don't see us and they would just pass us by. Thankfully, we didn't have to do that, and when we reached Skyfire, he was still out cold in that stasis lock of his, still in his vehicle form, and it looked like when he skidded in, he belly landed. He must have been out completely as he came down. Oh man, dude, what happened to you? I looked over and his auto repair systems are working, but it's going to take a long time. Since he's not quite with us, he can't actually take in as much of the cubes as we could give him. We have to basically drip feed all of that into his systems. To that end, I just looked at everybody and said, "Get the cables ready." As if I had to. Looking over, they had already got them up. All the flyers eventually had to grab the cables once we got them underneath this big bot, and we would have to transport him back. And I'll let you know that lifting out of vehicle mode is difficult for someone like me at best. Thankfully, we have a heavy lifter that turns into a Chinook called Prop Wash, and he actually took the heaviest part of the big man. In fact, it was something he requested, as he likes to show off his strength and likes to test it a lot. Getting him up off the ground was difficult but doable, and as we lift off, those of us that could change to our vehicle form do. It was a little bit difficult for me. I had to try 2 or 3 times, but I got it, and we're almost scraping the ground with his body as we're going along and trying to move as fast as we can without being noticed, but now we're a giant target out here. However, it seems like karma decided to actually be nice for us as a rare storm rolls in. I looked at it and I kind of snickered a little bit because it looked exactly like a human sandstorm. and I was thankful for our luck. Although most did scream about the storm being beyond their capabilities, and I just told them it would be fine. It also is going to be our cover. We can use this. We have to use it. We have to get him on the other side as fast as possible. And thanks to the storm, we didn't have to take a roundabout route. No, we simply could go straight from point A to point B, cutting off hours and hours of time. However, I will say it was not pleasant. As the storm was enveloping us, it was no longer a reason to play it quiet. I turned up my engines to the max, and so did everybody else as we pushed through with everything we have. 3 hours later, we're finally getting out of the storm, and we could see our destination in the distance. However, we're not going to the city. We couldn't. We didn't have a place for him, any place safe at all. We ended up setting Jetfire down on the old rocket base, trying to get his gear to extend, which didn't actually work, unfortunately, so we simply had to kind of lift and move him into place. As we all were straining our linkage, I was suddenly wishing I had some of those construction frequency things that guys use so much to move all that heavy shit around, but whatever. We finally got him into place, and a small group of 6 is left to overwatch his recovery, to drip the recovery cubes into him, making sure he has what he needs to come back to us. They are all skilled medics. I should know, I trained them myself. But it's still going to take some time. They said maybe I should inject some of my own blood into him. Maybe that would help. I didn't think that would be a good idea, especially since he's hurt. That only works if someone is mostly complete. It's going to be a while before he actually is. Thankfully, if someone was to look from the outside, it would just look like our big man just stopped for repairs or something. Eventually, we all got back to the city, and to celebrate our successful mission, everyone is given a day off right then and there for an entire Cybertronian day, and we brought out some of the liquid energy to celebrate. This fluorescent purple or maybe pink, I don't know, depends on how you look at it, gives a really strong kick to those like us. If I had to make a comparison, I'd say, 180 proof whiskey. The difference is this stuff went down and didn't burn because there wasn't anything to burn. As the celebration started, we actually got more to celebrate. A recon group actually arrived with the 13 bots from an abandoned city. One of the smaller groups, but they were able to get them out no problem. As it turned out, the cubes that we sent over there, that we shuttled a few times, allowed them to repair themselves enough to travel. We did raise a lot of our square-shaped glasses, if you want to call them that, to their success. However, they were more interested in the crystals as they were very, very hungry. However, they're going to celebrate because everybody's celebrating today. As everybody does do their celebration, I go to the radar suite and I tell everybody I'm taking over. They look at me sideways thinking I'm going to be the one drinking the most. But nope. I tell them, I'm covering this. You go and have fun. One of them simply stops and says, well, what about you? I said, listen, son. I forget where I heard it, but one of the best pieces of advice, you gotta celebrate the little things. Even if you go out there, have a little too much and break a bunch of little things, go have fun. You guys need it. Besides, it's always good to have a day off, right? He kind of grinned and left. About an hour later, Slipstream arrives, and she is staggering as she comes in, actually knocking one wing against the doorway, slapping the doorway like it got in her way, but as she turned, she slapped another wing against the other side of the doorway, and just turned towards me and was like, whatever. She staggered over, saw the serious look on me, and said how she wanted to party with me, and how I should need to loosen up. I tried to tell her, I'm good right here. Everybody else needs some time off. She got really close, started to drink her drink a little more, and then tried to get me to dance. I looked her in the eye and said, I don't dance. She then looked at me and says, come on, haven't you never ever danced before? Without taking my eyes off the screen, I said, tried it once, didn't like it. That's when she actually grabbed me, picked me up, and got me on my feet. So, whoa, okay. Then she wrapped around me and we started dancing just a little bit. As we do, she finishes her drink and she actually drops her container on the side. Honestly, I thought the thing would shatter, but it just landed with a pretty loud ka-thunk. We ended up just swaying back and forth as she lays against me. I figured this would work. I can still see the radar suite from where I am as we go back and forth like a couple of pendulums. I keep my eyes locked on the monitors. It seems as though she's drifting off, as though whatever the hell she was drinking just kind of got to her. In a very distorted voice, Slipstream mentions how she suddenly has a compulsion to expose her inner workings because she's overheating. She's so warm. Yet I could barely make out what in the hell she was saying because she slurred so much and even hiccuped during that whole process. She then looked up to me and gave me a sly grin. I looked at her and says, "You're drunk." She goes, "You're sexy." Do you even know what that means? I don't know, but that's a human thing, right? I don't know. Maybe, let me get this right. I don't know if I ever told you, but have I ever told you you're pretty cute for a human? Yes, cute for a human. Cute for a human. Even the other ones are cute. Because everybody's cute. Everybody's cute. Everybody's cute. And I'm cute too. But in purple. I'm stunning, she says as she opens her arms and then falls backwards as she passes out. I immediately grab her so she doesn't fall back and then pull her towards my chest. I catch her, thankfully before she hits the ground. I wasn't expecting all of her systems to basically shut down. I laid her down off in the corner, but as I lay her down, I realized there's something off with her head. What the hell is that? It's not the way everything sits, I thought to myself. I go to adjust her head. Maybe she's just sitting in a weird way, and her helmet moves. I then think to myself, wait, what the hell? That's a helmet? That's not part of her head? What the fuck is going on? I reach forward and I lift the helmet off. And as I do, pastel green hair falls out, the same exact color that's on her wings. And I immediately scream, "What the fuck?" Taking a step back, I go against the console and realize, oh crap, I gotta keep my eyes on the screen here. I look and see no one's coming, so I take a second look at the purple, green, white, whatever bot I see there. She's laying down completely out of it. And she's beautiful. The hair's not all that long. I mean, I prefer long hair, but still, I sit there and examine, but eventually I realize, okay, I better put this thing back on because if this thing is off her when she wakes up, she's going to freak the hell out. As I put it on, I realize I'm having a little bit of trouble sneaking all that. I mean, is this hair? I'm sure it looks like it. It kind of feels like it. I put it back under her helmet, put it on, and make sure it's snug. I know that because as I move it, now it seems to be completely locked onto her head. What the hell is going on? That's when I reach up and grab the sides of my head and check, and yep, it's a helmet all right. All this time I thought it was part of me. I mean, it never shifted, it never moved. What the heck is going on? I look and I can see all these different pieces that seem to be designed to hold it onto my head. And now I'm starting to freak out a little bit. I mean, I've never seen anybody else do this. Is this what that thing said when he meant by complete? I mean, I know that Slipstream was a little more than bot. I mean, she had soft cleavage-like structures before, which I thought was funny. But, I mean, I saw when I was in there, it was connected to the outer shell. It was just kind of a soft spot of her body. I didn't understand it. Thoughts make me wonder about what might else be under her chest plate now. Although, a different thought jumps into my mind. Since everybody calls me sir around here, I can't give in to my intrusive thoughts. Not even for a moment. I then check my reflection as I'm holding my helmet, and from a distance, it looks like I have a bit of hair, but as I look close, I realize that it's just a solid piece that's a different color. It's very similar looking to the old haircut I had. I just look myself over and say, "What the fuck, Over?" I guess hearing this made Slipstream flinch because as she moved, I immediately put my helmet back on. When I did, it was strange. It was very cold, as in cooling sensation that went throughout my head. That was odd. I'm not drunk. I only had one small drink before I came up here, and it should already have cycled through all my systems. What the heck is going on? I sit back down, and while Slipstream sleeps it off, I stay here at my post. As I stare at the screens, I have enough questions to keep my mind occupied and keep me focused without any problems. For the next few weeks, we're fixing the city center and making it a citadel of sorts. The city has to be redesigned like an ancient fort with rings upon rings of defenses as we retrieve more and more of our own kind and we start to spread across the city. But because there's more and more, production and improvements increase dramatically. Some even bring specialized techniques, specialized tools on their bodies to make things faster, to make things better. It is just wonderful. Even though somebody couldn't see it from the outside, the city itself can actually defend itself really well at this point, but we need to have redundancies after redundancies, fields of fire, and everything else dialed in to make sure we can maintain ourselves. The only thing out of all this that actually is annoying, because let's face it, building defenses takes time, is that we can't get power to the teleportation ring and activate it. I really, really, really want to get the power hooked up. I mean, the power output, if we did turn it on, would give us away in a moment. Almost everyone on the planet would realize there's another one of these turning on. It gives us kind of a weird fuzzy feeling, and we know which direction it's coming from. If one of these things is activated, well, we know exactly from where. And seeing this device we're working on that we have everything hooked up to, we just can't power the damn thing, is, oh man, I hate waiting. I hate waiting when I have it right here. But I think to myself that we can't get that large group out of the city without risking everybody right here, right now. And as things set, we wouldn't be able to even handle the Seekers. If they came down in a mass group, we'd be totally screwed, and not in a good way. I mean, it's hard enough to smuggle supplies in as is, and we're going to have to do something drastic to get everybody out. Everything has to be set. As I look out over the city, I see that the new bots are falling into their positions quite nicely. Mainly because there's a rotation of duties, so nobody gets bored. Nobody thinks that, oh, I'm stuck just mining energy crystals, or, oh, here, I'm only good for soldering conduits, or whatever it might be. This serves a dual purpose of not only showing that we actually give a crap about everybody else, but also that they're getting cross-trained on everything, which means redundancy upon redundancy. Also, for morale's sake, we set up a fluid energy bath that everybody can use when they're off duty. Kind of laid out like those old Roman bathhouses. I mean, I like to set them up like Eastern style, but we just don't have the resources for that. But for morale's sake, it is something that everyone enjoys. There's also the fact that we set up a couple of game areas around the city, though we did have to put them down in the depths of the old buildings to make sure that any energy that's coming off is not detected, because let's face it, you get a lot of bots in one spot playing a whole bunch of games, you're going to have a bit of, you might get a few people grabbing their weapons just for the hell of it. Thankfully, it's a very rare occurrence, as let's face it, everyone's armed, and an armed society is a polite society. As I'm taking a couple minutes just to look out, I see one of the other flying bots come over from the rocket base. He lands on the other side of the building and runs over to me and says, "He's awake!" I say, "Good." Soon the great Operation Dunkirk, can begin. Hello everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you for joining me for Chapter 10 of the story. Now, before I go, I need to send out some special thank yous to a few of my supporters, and those would be Prozac and Pancakes, SS Demon, Brian Kemp, Erica Gem, Guardian Sage, MTF Guard, and Julius Boone. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. And before I actually let you go, I do want to say, if you know what media I've been quoting during this entire series, feel free, drop in the comments. And extra congratulations if you're the first one. And I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntext, ejecting.